What is up, everybody? It is me, Duke Farley, back at it again here on Lost at Sea, and I am talking about Ascendance Live Season 4, but I am joined by a legend of this game. I am joined by Jodilly. Jodilly, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. I remember last season we talked about an episode. So excited to have you back on to talk about this one.
Thank you. Every time I get to come on to this cruise ship to be lost at sea, I feel like I just keep going up and up. The first time I came on and we were on a raft. This time I've got like a nice, comfortable, like suite on this delightful little cruise ship. So I'd like to think I'm getting my traveler miles. I'm very excited to be back. Thank you for having me.
Yes, as the subscriber count, increases, the raft gets a little bit bigger and the
I
accommodations get a
know. I
little
have
bit
to keep,
more
I have
wonderful.
to promote.
Yes.
Exactly.
Jodilly, what an interesting episode. We're talking about episode 3 here. We have the second person eliminated from the game. Mr. Alex Presser is the second boot.
Mm,
But what an interesting vote here. We have two throne votes, I guess you could say, on Adam.
yeah.
So I think that's a big storyline heading into next week, would you say?
Yes, listen, on season two, Christopher threw a vote onto someone during our season in order to stir up chaos. And I don't think it necessarily helped. I think in that form, in that environment, it actually worked against him because people caught on to it. However, I think this season I am very interested in the brewing rivalry we seem to be having of uh and Adam Michael Kennedy versus Matthew Sheed, because I think people recognize just how passionate Adam is to be back in the competition. And I didn't realize it until this episode, but Matthew's got a little bit of salt and pepper in his step too. When they had that little conversation of, "Did you throw my name out?" "I didn't throw your name out." I don't know where that came from. I was like, "Oh, I think Taisha and Christopher are both kind of picking up on Adam's feistiness, and it's a very easy trigger to ignite. I hope Adam can keep his calm through this, but also the intrusive thoughts are I hope he blows up on someone.
So it's so funny because Taisha has the same idea, I guess, Chris has this round, and she throws the vote on Adam in the first round. And then Chris does the same here in the second round. Is what do you
Mhm.
think? What do you think Adam's got to be thinking here? Do you think because he doesn't explode really on the
Yes.
first throne vote, but do you think the second throne vote is going to be what ignites him?
The thing is when with something like this, I think one thing that has to be considered is that if I had a vote thrown on me on the first two eliminations, I would automatically assume it would be someone who attended both of the eliminations with me. It's the same person. That's not the case here, but Taisha has gone to both of the eliminations. I don't remember if Christopher has, but what's really unfortunate is that not Adam and Michael, Matthew and Jim have gone to both of these eliminations. And it seems that the little thing of Josh confronting Jim and being like, "Hey, so I heard you're throwing out my girl's name. What's that about?" And then Jim going straight to Adam to like confront, and then that it just all seemed like horrible, horrible timing. I don't know if Christopher knew about all that. It all happened so fast. I doubt he did, but I think Adam probably is sealing off his bridges to the husbands, unfortunately. And I can't imagine being Taylor Clark in this situation where my partner is catching strays left and right and like out of nowhere, I can't imagine how she's feeling about all this. So I hope she can keep her calm too.
Hope she can keep her calm. She seems to be doing pretty well at that so far in the game. I think she's in
Mhm.
a great spot. But Jodie, obviously Alex was eliminated. Let's talk a little bit about Alex. And was there anything Alex could have done? Any other move that Alex could have made? The opposite of the name to Alex was Michael, and
Yeah.
nobody voted with him. Even he says it in his exit. He's upset with Adam for not following through with that. So was there
Yeah.
another name?
It seems that at first, I felt like Christopher Lanier made the cardinal sin, where as soon as the challenge ended, he was like, "Oh, that was my fault. Oh, everyone, that was me." And I was like, "Oh my God, Christopher, do not do listen. I didn't do so hot at every challenge in my season, but it would be a cold day in the underworld where I didn't say, 'Oh, I was carrying.' I don't know what you're talking about." And Christopher I think Christopher invented his own name being out there because people were like, well, he said he was the weakest. I was shocked to see Michael Davis see Christopher be like up for elimination and instantly be like, it's got to be Alex, because I think it started off being Christopher and Michael. And it's very interesting because Michael, obviously, he hosts 1984 Live with his partner Eric, his with Alex. Alex is in, and Alex comes with Chris G. And I felt like we saw Chris G have conversations with Stacey and with Jim about how us newbies have to stick together. I saw that route, but I also see the other route of Michael has a relationship with season one with Erica Bratton, and that comes with Rachel Roth and Christopher and the Alumni Alliance that he and Taisha talked about.
Yeah.
It felt like I if I was Michael, I wouldn't know which one of those is the right decision, but I think Michael felt really confident that getting rid of Alex was the right decision. And it sucks because I think Alex was loyal to people who weren't loyal to him. I think he expected more out of Michael, and I think he expected more out of Adam. And, you know, as Liz said on Cal Wrong, if you add fictitious deals, you get fictitious results. So it sucked. I don't know what more Alex could have done.
Jodilly, I want to talk about the people that were in most danger this round, their partners, and how they reacted to what was going on when they heard their partners were in danger. So, on one
Hmm.
hand, we have Michael Davis, who is getting
Yes.
a little bit of heat, and we get a confessional from Eric saying, "You know what? It's cool if you vote Michael out. I'm cool with being partners with Stacey. It's probably not a, it's it'd probably be fine for me." On the other hand, we have Chris G, who's fighting tooth and nail, really trying to pump Alex up, trying to talk to people, get his name, out from being potentially eliminated. What do you think about
Hmm.
the difference between these two? Polar opposites.
Well, mind you, I do have a draft team, and during the draft, the people I was doing it with were saying that like out of all the pairs, the one that seems the most flimsy is Michael and Eric. And they all said Eric is gonna flip on Michael. And I said, no, Eric is loyal. And I have egg on my face now. I was in shock. I wouldn't think any mind you, maybe Eric was just saying it hypothetically, but the fact that Eric was very much like, why? I think, within the first couple of episodes, we've seen Eric gravitate towards Jim and Matt, and that would lend itself more towards the newbie crew. Eric himself is a newbie, but I think with this vote, Michael proved that his loyalty lies more with the veterans. And I think Eric and Michael are unharmonious with that decision. And on the one hand, like, how much do you bend for your partner? And how much do you have to say it's my own game? And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Chris G, even throughout the challenges so far, he is just such a natural, charismatic leader. If I had to do any sort of competition, I would want Chris G on my team to help direct. And seeing Chris G be like, Alex, come here. You gotta say you're less strategic. Michael's a play. Like he was giving Alex the script that Alex
Yeah.
used to fight for himself. And truly, I feel like Chris G is going to come back from this with a vengeance. I think with Stacey losing Blaker obviously emotionally affected her, but I don't think she went on a warpath at all. I think Chris G is about to come out this real, real hot. And actually, I think Stacey and Chris G is a pair I would bet more money on than Stacey and Eric, because I think Eric is a bit more behind the scenes, which is kind of similar to Stacey. I think the pair of Chris G and Stacey could be a really, really good balance. my only worry is that they're both newbies, and if that's what we're headed in for, then I think they might be in trouble. But I I have good faith for Christy and for Stacey.
Interesting twist here with the duos. You know, your duo goes home. Stacy was safe and was able to vote at this last vote. And
Mhm.
then obviously at the end of the day, Chris G and her are now paired up. I do think that's going to be a fun duo to very strong duo,
Mhm.
I think. But you alluded to it, Jodilly. Do we have a war brewing between, you know, newbies versus veterans? Because it's been thrown out there a decent amount this last episode.
I mean, I feel like when it's a format of like half and half of anything, I truly do believe people walk into it saying, let's just be in the moment. This is our season, right? But I think if a pattern forms, it is unnoticeable, you know? And the fact that I think for both of these votes between Blaker and Billy, the person who's new to Ascendance got sent home, the veteran got kept safe. Alex and Michael, the newbie got sent home, the veteran was kept safe. I think that a war wouldn't necessarily be guaranteed if it was different people who were miffed, but between Stacy and Christy, who are now partners, I think on top of which Jim and Matt, well, Matt and Adam now having a brewing thing between them, I think we're definitely in for those two sides where people are going to have to pick one or the other. I think that's what we're headed in for.
Would you say it's safe to say that you do not want to be a veteran that is eligible to be voted next week? Do you think the number they're going to
Well,
try to even it out a little bit?
I think it depends on who wins captain. Well, it all depends on those teams because you're not guaranteed to be with your partner at elimination. And I mean, Michael even said to Taisha when Taisha was like, Christopher's pitching a veterans alliance. And Michael was like, I don't care. I don't want all the veterans to work together. I want it to be you, me, Erica, and Christopher as a four. Like, I think there's so many veteran. I think there are divisions between the veterans in and of itself. I mean, uh, Matt said at the top of the episode that he wants to split up season three, and I think season three is its own side, and the other seasons are on their own team, and
Yeah.
they may come together to protect each other for pure numbers. But realistically, I do think there's a crack in there. So I think it depends on which veteran and what team, if a veteran would even go home.
Right. It's yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be very situational on how that plays out. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to highlight Matt's gameplay these first two rounds.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Matt and Jim, now they have a huge target on their back, winning the first two captains. They
Mm-hmm.
dominated the trivia, which shout out Majestic Circus, came back.
Logistics, I guess.
Always so much fun to watch the trivia there. But
Mm-hmm.
Matt specifically, he is gunning for Billy in the first round to no avail. He then kind of a little bit alludes to gunning for Adam in the second round and votes for Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Is Matt just playing way too hard, or is nobody listening to his good ideas?
Um, I mean, the thing is that Matt and Jim got voted to be, they got the most votes for team captain the first round. And I think they're very naturally social, very strong, both Jim and Matt. I think I would count Matthew out more so, if not for the fact that Chris G right now is as hot blooded as his red bandana is. And so I think potentially, if Chris G doesn't put a lid on it, Chris G may actually be seen as the next big target, and Matt could slide under through that. Is it a good idea? Is Matthew spitting bars? Is he spitting truth? I mean, I think so. Billy Stevens is not a competitor that you want to go up against in the long run. Adam Michael Kennedy is not someone that'll be easy to take down in the long run. However, I think it was miraculous Adam went home first on season three. I think it was miraculous that Billy Stevens went home early on season three. This time around, they're both so much more ready to take on being thrown out early because they've lived it already, you know? So I think Matthew is giving good ideas, but I don't think he's picking fights with any scrubs. I think it'll be very hard to win against them, you know, to defeat them.
A little too much too soon, maybe.
Perhaps. But I think Jim is I think we got to see a lot of Jim's conversations this round. And Jim
I thought he was great.
very much, and I'm not just saying this because he's a dad, but he very much gave like fatherly energy of like, Aaron, what's going on? I don't know. Oh, Chris G, you're upset. Like on the other end of the spectrum, Jim is such a calming force.
Yeah.
And I think if Jim recognizes the target that Matthew might be conjuring, Jim might be the perfect person to get him to recoil that. But I don't know if Jim saw it within that round, how much Matthew was a part of conversations. So we'll see.
We will see. I thought Jim had a very fun episode. I want to highlight
Mhm.
the conversation between Stacy and Jim and Chris G outside underneath the porch. Um,
Mhm.
him just kind of like getting all the information out from these guys and kind of just not being an active listener. I thought he was great. And
Mhm.
hopefully he can calm down Matt because Matt seems to be a little hot and heavy, but it's great for
Yeah.
the episode. It's great for the viewing pleasures.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
Jodilly, what about this is the second episode in a row that we've been hearing about potential all female alliance. Um,
Mhm.
do you think that's something that people are have on their radar moving into the next couple rounds, or do you think that that's just something that the episode is showing us to for no like reason, or do you think that's going to be a big thing?
You know what? I feel like in my season, it was Melissa's name came up very early, as did Kennedy's. However, people wanted to see women succeed, you know? And I think in this season as well, it's a similar vibe where I think in people's hearts, it's very hard for them to say, oh, let's vote on a woman. I just don't think that's where the predisposition is. I think within the women here, I think there are varying levels ranging all the way from Erica B, who said in her confessional, like, I'll flip on him. I don't care. I'll just do whatever, you know. And I believe that all the way up to I feel like Grace on the opposite end of the spectrum was very genuine about wanting to work with them. Um, Taylor Taylor too had a comment about how she heard Alex's name and Alex is one of the few people that she didn't know. So like she was okay with him going. I think because Taylor has had conversations with these other girls, I think she's also going to be more genuine towards it. The question is that it's all speculation until the rubber meets the road. Even Aaron's name coming up, just the small salt and like the small salt grain of it that it did, I felt like people were like, oh no, 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 no. Like we're not going for Aaron. But I'm sure we're gonna find a round where multiple female names are up for elimination, and we'll see if that alliance actually sticks. Because everyone can say that they have a full house built until the wind starts blowing, and then you realize if you actually like put brick and mortar in it or not. So I think we're gonna have to just wait and see. And for the record, also the stuff that they're letting, I know we talked about Taisha a little bit already, but the stuff that they're letting Taisha get away with and the stuff that they're letting Grace Stevens get away with too is kind of crazy to me. Of like when Josh came in and I think it was Taisha that asked if like Josh threw a vote and Grace was like, I thought it was you. Great big smile when all the girls were in the room and like Christopher or Billy came in and was, oh, here's all the girls, and Grace was like, yeah, we're all having a great time discussing together. Like Grace doesn't care. She'll just tell you what, yeah, these are my people. Now what, you know? And they're all just like, okay, sure. Like the stuff they're letting Grace get away with already, I am obsessed.
It's not too dissimilar to Ozzy in season 3, where Ozzy would kind of just like tell you exactly what was on his mind. Grace is
Yeah.
very similar in the fact that she's like open and free with all the information she's letting out, which is fun. It's refreshing
Hmm.
because some of these people keep stuff way too close to their vests.
Yeah. And I think some of that came back to bite Alex too. Like some of like it's so hard to know like how much is too little when you're just starting or how much is too much, you know. But I feel like Alex, I just feel bad that he got kind of turned on by some of the people. To steal Matthew's phrase, the call was coming from inside the house, you know? How was he supposed to know, you know?
Yeah.
But they also kept on talking about how like there's a chance of a battle back. I don't know if they officially know that, but a battle back already with duos and partners and mixed pairs this season, I think it would be very dramatic if it were to happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I don't. I really don't foresee that happening this season, but we'll have to see.
Mhm. It's
I
20
do.
people.
It's 20 people, yeah, but I do want to bring light to the competition. This team competition,
Mhm.
and I want to shout out Taisha because Taisha did not tumble, and they showed it and they did her dirty, but
Mhm.
she did not fall this time. So shout out to Taisha for not taking the tumble.
Shout out. I mean, it's a hard comp to do, running around and carrying those bottles. And see, my season was lucky because we did it in the backyard. I think for season 3 and season 4, they made them do it on like the roughest terrain possible on the land, like a very hilly area. And it's a lot tougher than it looks to actually like get your whole team to run at the same speed. Dropping something like Christopher did is very, very scathingly easy to do, you know? And I feel like they tried to throw shade at the team by saying, oh, elapsed time, 45 seconds. But really, it's crazy to go even for 30, you know? So,
Yeah, and not to mention it looked like it might have been drizzling too. So a little slip there
mhm.
would not have surprised anyone. But
Yeah.
Jodilly, is there anything else that has happened in this episode, or maybe some predictions for next episode that you want to talk about?
Hmm. I will say, from my past knowledge of Eli's performance in live games, I feel like Eli may not necessarily have the most connections on the cast. And I think that, I mean, within 2 episodes, we've seen 2 members of the Menage a Trois go home with Blaker being eliminated from the Fruit Flies and Alex Pressel being eliminated from whatever that menage a trois was between the three of them. And when
The
Michael
first
was
one.
like, oh wow, like I went on a dinner with Alex, but like I gotta look out for myself. I am interested into seeing how Eli reacts to that. To be honest, I don't think Eli was planning on working with either of them anyways, but it'll be interesting to see where Eli gets pulled as a newbie, but also partnered with Taisha. I think Eli could potentially be pulled in a few interesting ways. Shout out Billy for winning a challenge where he desperately needed it. I feel like Billy's probably going to rely on Adam and, as crazy as it sounds to say, Josh, if it starts becoming a vets with a season 3 core. So I'm interested in seeing if he fights Jim and Matthew, because could you imagine Jim and like Matthew versus Adam and Billy? That'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And Chris Yu. See, Christopher Lanier. Let's start with Christopher Lanier. I feel like Christopher Lanier was just straight up bold face lying to people in their face. The fact that he got Michael to crack under nerves and was like, and Michael, and he was like, oh, like, I dropped the ball on the challenge, literally. And Michael was like, well, it has to be Alex. And then Christopher was like, if you say that to people, we will all support you and we love you. Like, we know your name's out there now, Michael. Like, it was crazy watching Christopher turn that around. And Chrissy, I feel like he's been sneaking in these little devious little, we dominated. Oh my God. Ha 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 ha. Little, I think that's a mischievous pair right there. I think while everyone's looking at everyone else, Chris and Chris, I think they're going to be sneaky. I think they're going to be sneaky little demons. And I am excited to watch them, the bright yellow team, the stylish ones, like be the shady ones. I'm excited for that to potentially sprout.
I'm excited to watch that too. I think Chris had a very fun episode. A couple of lying straight to people's face. He lied right to Alex's face, said that he would keep him, and then immediately gave us confessional that he was going to be voting him out. So always fun
Yeah.
when that stuff happens. Um, Jodilly, there was only one trivia question that I thought stood out as wow, that person really messed that one up, and that was
Mhm.
how many times how many guineas are in how in the countries or whatever, how many are there, and Taisha said 20
Mhm.
and there were 44. Kind of crazy how off she was on that.
I mean, I wouldn't have known the correct answer either. Would I have said 20? Would I have said 20? No, I thought the answer was closer to two. But you
That
know
was my
what? If
guess.
Bowie Jane can win a tiebreaker of 27 minutes, then you know what? At the end of the day, any number is possible. So shout out to Taisha Jane, Shout out to her. Honestly, Taisha, I don't necessarily see as someone who's the most proficient at comps, but she's so good at the game that she doesn't need to be?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has their strengths. Everybody has their strengths.
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
Jodilly, besides the yellow duo, who do you think is in the best position to win the game, and who's in trouble of going home next?
Um, Someone said it during the episode. Eric said it of like, if your name is out there once early, it is more likely to come up at a later vote because as sucky as it is, people love to say like, oh, well, people already seemed okay to send votes this way. Maybe that's an easy vote to like do. So I think Billy, Adam, Matt and Jim, um, Michael Davis, I think they can all probably expect to be come after again. I don't know if that means they're going to be out early, but I think they should be prepared to have their name thrown out again. In terms of who's in a good position, I do feel really, really good about the yellow duo. I think I really do have faith that the Girls Alliance could definitely have legs to it. It's hard to pick any one out of the group that like I feel is ahead of the others, but I do think the stuff that they let Grace Stevens get away with is crazy. Even if Billy's getting targeted, I don't think it affects her. I also want to put a I also have my eye on Erin. Erin got voted for to be the captain, even when she was partnered with the self-proclaimed biggest villain of Ascendance. And I feel like people were so like aghast at Erin's name being out there. I think people are already feeling really protective of her, and I feel like she's connected really well. Especially because she, like Eli, has a lot of means to be connected both to the vets and the rookies through their partners who are really well-known vets, but they are both rookies themselves. I don't necessarily know if Eric would be as happy to be playing the middle in this situation. So I think Eli and Aaron are two people where I'm like, the world is an oyster. And Taylor. But yeah, Eli, Aaron, and Taylor, I'm really excited to see how they handle this as well.
I'm excited to see how they handle it too, Jodie, and I'm excited that I got to talk to you this evening about episode 3, and just great episode, and looking forward to next week's episode. But thank you so
Who
much
do
for
you
coming on. What? You have a
Yeah.
question for
Well,
me,
I was
Jodie?
gonna say, who are you looking at? Who are your predictions?
I do really like what you're saying about the yellow duo. I do like what you're saying about Aaron, but there's something about, I said this last episode and I think it confirms it again for me. I really do like Jim. I like Jim's
Mm.
demeanor and the way he's handling everything. Um,
Mhm.
and I also want to throw a little light on Rachel and Erica. I think they have been playing much more quietly. Well, not Erica, but Rachel specifically,
Mm.
much more quietly than I had thought they would, in the beginning of the game. And I think they're similar to the yellow duo, are in that position where nobody's like shooting guns at them. So let's just take a step back and let everything
Yeah.
happen in front of them. So those are besides what you already said, those are the people that I'm looking at.
Yeah. Rachel is such a bombastic personality, but I really do feel like when it comes time to, has Rachel voted at either elimination?
I want to say they've been safe at both.
Okay. I think Erica was vulnerable this time, but
Right.
uh, but Rachel, yeah, we haven't seen Rachel under the gun, but I think having the first couple rounds to be like, you get the chance to get your mind together. I think Rachel is going to be all cotton candy. And then when it comes time to vote, she's nowhere near as frazzled as you would expect her to be. And
Yeah.
yeah, out of everyone on the season, I think Jim is the person that I'm probably rooting for the most. He's very, he's I don't know what I think he's like a lawyer. It's always these lawyers, Taylor G, Sarah Marie Sparks, Thomas Ibarra, Jim Sheed. They're always the most entertaining, and it's crazy how good that they all are. So I'm excited to see Jim carry the mantle. I really am.
Yes, yes. But Jodilly, thank you so much again for coming on. It's always a pleasure getting to talk to you.
Thank you. I can't wait to see what sweet I get next time.